have really come a long way in a short period of time. And I know it may not seem so short, but I tell you, progress has been made and is being made every single day. And we'll stay focused, laser focused on that. I am proud of the people of our city and very grateful to everyone, and especially the hardworking men and women of the city of New Orleans, all of our partner agencies, all of our support teams that have been just standing up and holding one another up, understanding that leadership not only comes from within, but it's how we provide that assistance and in partnership in terms of how we respond to the needs of our residents, but how we respond to one another. In that regard, I think that the employees here of the city and all these departments and agencies that I mentioned are putting the capital L in Labor Day. And so happy Labor Day to everyone, but it really is rooted and grounded in what we have collectively demonstrated over the past 8 days and even prior to that in preparation. First, in response to concerns and conditions we encountered on late last week relative to senior living facilities throughout the city, you should know that the city of New Orleans, that we have stood up what we call our building evaluation strike team. That is being coordinated and under the leadership of Peter Bowen, who is organizing through various departments, and I'll speak to this. This is a unified approach through multiple departments: safety and permits, code enforcement, of course our health department, the fire department, the New Orleans Police Department, and it really grows from there. It includes specialized inspectors, again from code enforcement, as well as fire protection. We're going to make sure that the city continues to prioritize these facilities, particularly those that not only we had to close, but I'm very concerned about our seniors coming back to the city and back to the conditions that they left. So prior to allowing for that to occur, I'm making it very clear that the city is going to do thorough inspections with this building strike team so that, again, we can ensure that the conditions are not only improved, but that they are in compliance. And what we found was unacceptable, and accountability will be across the board. But right now, we will remain focused on improving the conditions of the facilities that we closed in order to bring our seniors back. We do not want to bring them back in those conditions that they left. And so we'll be working through these issues as the days go by. And of course, as I mentioned previously, you know, when we start to focus on our after action and report and things that we did well, things that we can improve upon, and things that we want to see improved upon moving forward, we're always finding, and there will always be, lessons learned. And so we're wanting to be intentional about that. And front and center is our ability in focusing on these public, non-public facilities, privately ran facilities, management that is not the city of New Orleans, but where accountability needs to happen. We will not see this happen again, and that's what our focus will be on. Holding these centers and those who are responsible for the care and rendering that care to our seniors and elderly in their care. This is going to be front and center. Our cooling stations continue to meet people where they are. Very proud, again, of the coordinating efforts that we have seen over the past week or so. We are assisting residents, again, with critical needs. As power is restored, we're seeing that we're gradually, you know, folks are gradually able to stand themselves back up. But we will also be decreasing services as the needs come about. So it will not be swift. It will be based on, you know, what we're seeing on the ground so that we can continue to meet those needs of our residents, but at the same time, scale back and pivot our resources to areas where the needs tend to be the greatest. We have had a total of 14,105 resident visits since Wednesday, and 2,530 residents on yesterday alone. We have established a crisis cleanup hotline for post-storm assistance. These will be volunteers going out to assist our residents with, again, cleaning up their homes and their areas as needed. You can call 844-965-1386. Again, that is our crisis cleanup hotline, 844-965-1386. And I know we've been asking and really pushing for people to sign up for the NOLA Ready alerts. Please do that. It's so beneficial. You get real-time alerts, keeping you abreast of real information and resources and services. And you just text NOLA Ready to 77295. The city-assisted transportation to state shelters, that operation is it's ongoing. And again, as we see the need decreases, we will then demobilize again as needed, and therefore pivot our resources to other areas in the city where the needs continue to be the greatest. Due to declining demand for evacuation, we are beginning on today to ramp that down. Again, looking at what's on the ground, looking at how people are responding to these resources, and will wind down accordingly. We will continue transporting our residents who want to be moved out of the impact zone as needed, but the demand has steeply declined. Today, as of 9:35 a.m., no one had come through, and in total, we've moved approximately 724 residents from the convention center staging area. Primarily, those were many seniors that we evacuated or provided transportation to areas for much improved conditions and resources for our seniors. When we got them to those remote locations and shelters, hey, make no mistake about it, we did the outreach necessary. We wanted to make sure that they were taken care of, that they were okay, and that's exactly the responses that we received. Happy to say that Entergy continues to make some progress towards restoration of electricity. Even this morning, we found lights on at my home on the Parkway, so progress. More and more places are coming online, and those critical spots like grocery stores and gas stations that enable more of our people to get what they need. We're just seeing, again, throughout the city, restoration happening there. So last night, Entergy reported about 49% of power restored, but that has increased to about 66% as of this morning, but on track to that 70% by tonight. We do see, again, just progress, and I'm grateful for that. We were hit by a Category 4 hurricane, and that was just last Sunday. Again, we're continuing to push Entergy at every level. The council has been relentless in that, and I'm just proud of the coordinated efforts to get power restored again throughout the city of New Orleans. Our partnership with the Louisiana National Guard just continues to be strong and robust, again, day after day. But you can see the Guard on the street, boots on the ground throughout the city, not only standing up the points of distribution, the pods, but also in support of the New Orleans Police Department operations and much, much more. But as people, in our city are coming back online, the need for resources, they just shift. And we're wanting to pivot based on those resources. So again, pushing our people to the crisis hotline. I'm even happy to say that 311 has seen a decline of about 50% in calls that they are receiving. So that's a key indicator that we're looking at as well about, the needs of our folks, how as power is restored, they're even able to kind of do more on their own and within their communities, neighbors helping neighbors. That just continues to be that steady drum beat and battle rhythm throughout our community, throughout our city. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Colin Arnold. You'll hear from more of our leadership. We will cap it off with just some brief updates from the council, and then we'll go to questions and answers as we normally do. So right now, I'll bring up Mr. Colin Arnold. Thank you. Colin?
Mayor.
Yes.
Morning, everyone. Our City of New Orleans Emergency Operations Center remains activated 24/7 upstairs, addressing public safety infrastructure and human service issues. All of our agencies are represented and continue to respond to the impacts of Hurricane Ida. Public safety agencies are continuing to coordinate shelter transportation and resources for our residents. Due to the limited demand for the shelter transportation service, we've reduced the number of pickup sites from 12 to just those 8 cooling centers that are at Nord rec sites, which I'll go over in a second just to talk about cooling centers. We're doing more of an on-demand service for that. We've seen a dramatic reduction in the amount of those. Our target audience, our seniors and those vulnerable that we've been reaching out to directly have been the majority. I'd say 75, 80% of who we've moved out of that 724. We have 1,000 Orleans residents in sheltering statewide right now. That does not include the Red Cross shelters that people may have evacuated to prior to the storm. So we will continue to track those with our partners at the Department of Children and Family Services. From 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., anyone wanting transportation to a shelter in North Louisiana can go to one of the following recreation centers, where they will board an RTA bus to the convention center and go through a simple ticketing process to take a motor coach bus provided by the state of Louisiana DOTD out of the area. That is Tremay Recreation Center, Cutoff Recreation Center, Gurn & Brown Recreation Center, the Milne Recreation Center, Stallings St. Claude Recreation Center, the Lions Recreation Center, Joe Brown Recreation Center, and Rosenwald Recreation Center. And again, those are our cooling shelters, our cooling centers that have been up and operational for about a week, providing services to our public. As I said, we've transported 724 of Orleans residents through the City-Assisted Transportation to State Shelters program that's been running at the Convention Center. We did scale down the amount of personnel needed today. As I walked out here, we've only moved 4 today. It has reduced dramatically, and that would be expected as the power continues to come back on. I'd like to point out that we've had 22 pets move through the process, including 3 large animals. And I will tell you that from working in these types of plans over the years, the pet piece is always something that we're a little concerned about. We are having some fire alarm issues in the building, but please, if we have to leave, we'll indicate that. Always concerned about the pet piece of this because it's very complicated. But it's important. And I would add that I spoke to a gentleman who is evacuating or being transported to a shelter with his dog. Didn't bring a bag for himself, brought a bag for the dog, and said the only reason why he was leaving was because of his pet. And so I think it's important to note that a pet saved is a life saved. And we've said that before, and we'll say it again, and we've seen it here in action. And I really have to thank the LASPCA, Anna Zarilla, a great partner in this, who's just been on the ground both at the CATS operation at the Convention Center and at the cooling centers, providing pet support all week. And the Department of Agriculture and Forestry, who is a state lead for pet evacuation and pet rescue. Incredible people. I can't say enough about who they brought in. And also the Louisiana State Animal Rescue Team, LSART, volunteers, veterinarians, and vet techs that come in and assist in that operation. They're down there today, even though we're only moving 4 because they realize the importance of their mission. Not saying 4 for the whole day. We'll continue to do that outreach to seniors and vulnerables, but definitely amazing work. We're going to continue, but we'll make a determination, as the mayor mentioned at the end of the day, about the continuation of that process. And we'll continue to track where our people are because we want to get them back when it's safe to do so. The Department of Children and Family Services has set up a Family Connect hotline to locate loved ones in state shelters for families to have a reunification process. You can call 225-342-2727 between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. There's also a form online at dcfs.louisiana.gov/connect. That's dcfs.louisiana.gov/connect. As I said, from the time you walked into the convention center, you got a wristband, you filled out a manifest form, you were put on the bus, and by the time you got to that shelter, when they would scan that band, the information from that form was already populated into an electronic database. So we want to have complete accountability for everyone that's in this process, because it also helps us get everyone back as well. Through the resources provided by our great partners with Louisiana National Guard and community organizations, we'll continue to provide these commodities to the public as long as these power outages continue. The cooling sites, from what we understand, have seen about 14,000 residents total. That's 2,530 yesterday that were serviced by these, and what we're getting from the ground there is that these were vital towards what we've been dealing with for the last week. They really were. Again, those cooling stations have AC, air conditioning, meals, water, device charging, hygiene kits, diapers and baby supplies, and other resources, and they'll continue to operate at those sites that I mentioned before. We also have the points of distribution with the National Guard, where you can access ice, water, and MREs from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and those are at Joe Brown Park, separate to the cooling sites. Joe Brown Park, Wesley Barrow Stadium out by the lake, Mahalia Jackson Theater, Skelly Park on the West Bank, and Lions Center uptown. There's also one at the Dryads YMCA, a smaller pod operation going there. We'll be pushing out tarps to those as well. We see some rain in the forecast, and just, these afternoon thunderstorms, we want to make sure we're pushing out as many tarps as we can to those. And thanks to the City Council, they continue to do the work that they've done from the beginning with getting tarps out to residents that need them for their roofs. Meals are available at dozens of sites around town, supported by World Central Kitchen, Salvation Army, Second Harvest, who's done a great job down at the convention center as well, and Operation Barbecue and Mercy Chefs. And there's a whole list of those every day at ready.nola.gov, as well as everything I'm talking about right now. Again, tarps on that subject, I'd encourage residents to take advantage of this. Today, they will have from 12 to 2 at the Community Commitment Center at 8540 Spruce, 2 to 4 p.m. at the Gust Homes at 1301 Simon Bolivar, 2 to 4 p.m. at Light City Church at 6117 St. Claude Avenue, 3 to 5 p.m. at the Life of Faith Ministry at 10709 Chef Mentor Highway. Our city's IT department, ITI, has launched a gas map with self-reported information from New Orleans gas stations. You can find that at ready.nola.gov/gas map if you're looking for gas stations that are open. I've been looking and tracking these every morning, every afternoon, every evening. Still seeing some gaps in New Orleans East and Gentilly, a little bit on the West Bank as well, but we are starting to see a lot more gas stations and grocery stores come open. We're tracking all of that. That will determine the future demand for the point of distribution that the National Guard's doing. A few reminders about those residents and our neighbors impacted by Hurricane Ida. You can apply for FEMA disaster assistance by going to disasterassistance.gov or calling 800-621-3362. You may be eligible for temporary shelter assistance program, which would cover your hotel costs. FEMA can also cover impacts to renters who had damage. There's programs for that. We activated or requested activation of the Louisiana Federal DSNAP request program. Everyone in Orleans Parish should pre-register for DSNAP by texting LADSNAP to 898-211. LADSNAP to 898-211. And if you're an existing SNAP recipient, you will have replacement benefits automatically loaded onto your card. Again, the Army Corps of Engineer has a free blue roof program. They come into your property and put the blue roof on your home. You can find out more about that at blueroof.us. There's an application process, blueroof.us. And again, as the mayor mentioned, we have a great volunteer network that is willing to assist with cleaning up your yard. Our crisis cleanup hotline, 844-965-1386 to request assistance. Again, I would point out these are volunteers, so get there, call, and as soon as those volunteers can assist you, they will. With that, I appreciate your attention. Thank you. And I think next up is Ramsey Green, our Deputy CAO of Infrastructure.
Thank
Ramsey?
you, Colin.
Yes,
Come on,
ma'am.
Ramsey.
First off, there's no fire. Thank you for your patience. As you all know, we had an actual fire last week, and we're still trying to repair the building due to a generator problem. The Joint Infrastructure Operations continue to work on stabilizing and bringing New Orleans back online. Thank you to everybody doing it, all the men and women upstairs, the men and women in the streets doing this work. It's incredibly complex at this time. We had a big weekend. A lot of work going, nothing stopped. DPW has, I'm going to start with Public Works and go on down through a few things. DPW has now cleaned 401 catch basins. Crews were focused yesterday on Esplanade between North Derbigny and Rocheblave and Opelousas between Elmira and Pacific. Councilwoman Palmer, I'm sure you like that. The emergency contract drain line and catch basin inspection and cleaning contract should be advertised today and in place later this week. The goal of that program is to clean more than 6,000 catch basins and 120,000 linear feet of drain line of the debris that during this event floated up and went into our catch basins and our subsurface drain system. How we're going to determine which catch basins get part of this program, 311 cases that came in during the emergency declaration, number one, and locations where our debris teams from parkways, sanitation, the National Guard have cleared a substantial amount of debris. So you may not see the debris, like you see the debris is gone if you're driving down the street or walking down the street, but there's plenty under the street in the drain system. We're just trying to get that out of there so it doesn't sit there like it did for years after Katrina. DPW is setting up an emergency contract for street light and street signpost damage assessments. Contractor will be selected today and assessments start this week. We have, I think, over 540 stop signs that are out there. They're A-frame stop signs. I have to discipline myself to do this when driving throughout the city. Even if you don't see one, if you see a down traffic light, it's a four-way stop sign. Stop, stop, drive slowly. It is a very dangerous place out there in our city, particularly at nighttime, and we have men and women working everywhere throughout this city. Drive very slowly, look out for them. They have families and children just like you do, and they want to get home to see them at the end of the day. We will resume work on the Sewage and Water Board and DPW Joint Infrastructure Program. We're tracking for this Monday, September 13th. We're not going to start all the projects because we have so much debris work and so many linesmen and women out there. We're not going to start them up simultaneously because we need to ensure there's power and there's not other work going on. The Claiborne Auto Pound at 400 North Claiborne is open daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can go retrieve your vehicle if it was towed. We have 441 city-owned facilities. We've completed post-damage assessments on 138 of them. That number climbed about 50 over the weekend. A supplemental contract is currently advertised for emergency repair assessments of city-owned facilities. The committee is meeting right upstairs right now to focus on that, and that will be noticed to proceed today. We do have one building, we mentioned this earlier, Municipal and Traffic Court. It is grievously damaged. That's good because we're scheduled to do a full renovation of it. We're working with the judges there to figure out when to get that back online and what the temporary fix is. Sanitation. The city departments and contractors have cleared over 500 miles of city right-of-way. That's up 200 miles since Friday, which is a huge amount of work over a weekend. Curbside solid waste collection resumed on Thursday and is continuing. Though many of you have Thursday days, you left your can out there, you're screaming and cursing the heavens, and it's not picked up. It should be picked up today, and then we'll move on to the Friday and Saturday route. So we're a few days behind because our contractors are at 30% capacity right now. We had good news this morning that Metro, our contractors, natural gas production site became online with Entergy, so they should be cooking with gas literally today. They've got 12 trucks moving. We do have a tremendous amount of trash. The French Quarter normally takes 2 hours to clean. Last week we cleaned it, it took 9 hours. The reason is people are emptying the refrigerators, it's everything. Put all the putrid, disgusting things into your 95-gallon can. There's a lot of liquid trash, a lot of stuff people are throwing away from their houses. Put it in your city trash can. Don't put it in a bag. Put the nastiest of the nasty in the city trash can. It's starting to smell out there. Let's try and minimize that smell, and let's keep it in that 95-gallon city trash can. Right now, we're finding that it's taking an enormous amount of time to pick up the trash. Usually our trash trucks can hit 4 or 5 blocks and then go to the landfill to do drop-off. They're doing 1 block right now and then having to go to the landfill. That's how much is out there. That's why it's taking a while. City contractors, last thing on this issue. Recycling has been postponed indefinitely. We can't do recycling in the wake of this storm. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but we will get back to it, we promise. The debris, we were gonna start picking up debris tomorrow. If you have debris, whether it's trees, shingles, whatever, pile it on your curb, don't put it in the street. The reason we don't put debris in the street, we got a little bit of pushback on this, it's dangerous for cars, it's dangerous for people. Put it between your sidewalk and your curb. And we have very specific instructions on how to do that via NOLA Ready. Put that debris out there. Our first pass of 3 passes. For every disaster like this, we have 3 passes. First pass starts tomorrow. We won't get to your neighborhood in all likelihood, but the work starts. We're gonna start telling folks when those passes are happening a little bit more. I cannot tell you which neighborhood. We're going by the most amount of debris. It's a very shotgun blast-like structure. The 3rd pass, we will be very public about when that is coming. All residents continue to return to the city. As you continue to return to the city, just be aware, when you go into your house, it can be pretty nasty. Get that stuff put in the can. Forestry continues to remove obstructions from right-of-ways and now public trees that have fallen onto structures. We punted for about a week on getting the trees that are on homes. Now we're doing that work because we had to focus on the trees and right-of-ways to get the power back on. With the National Guard, big shout out to the Florida National Guard and the Louisiana Guard. Those men and women are fantastic. Those guys are tough and they're out there all over the city. We've completed 215 work orders out of 450 calls for service. Parks remain closed, including Joe Bart Golf Course, and we're starting to transition into removing all the debris from our parks, which is a big deal. We want those parks ready for you all when you get back to town or when you want to get out of your house. Grounds maintenance is shifting to clearing right-of-ways at all of those major parks, and we're picking up trash in all of our parks today. As it relates to continuing to push debris and getting those debris out, today we're starting with normal grass cutting on Reed Boulevard to get grass cutting on track. We got to remove that debris, get it out, and then mow the lawn. All right, this is a big new thing today, mosquito and termites. We're on day 8. Mosquitoes take, I think, 10 to 14 days to turn from, thank you, no, like even before larva. The notion of wanting to have children, mosquitoes, first date or 3rd day, whatever you want to call it, from conception to hatchery is 10 to 14 days. We're getting into that nasty part. So, to stop mosquitoes from breeding, eliminate standing water around your home, remove trash and clutter and dispose of discarded tires and containers that can hold water, turn over wading pools, buckets, trash cans, children's toys, or anything that could collect water. Check weekly and remove standing water from tarps and stack plastic bags with debris. Change water weekly in containers that cannot be removed, such as pet dishes or bird baths. Scrub the side of containers with soap and a sponge to remove any mosquito eggs. You may dump it, but they'll still come back. They're resilient little guys. Rain barrels and other water collection devices must be screened and collected water, should be used within 1 week. Aerate ornamental pools, fountains, and sugar kettles, or stock them with fish. That is a great idea. Report mosquito problems, illegal dumping, water leaks, and unattended swimming pools by calling 311. Swimming pools and hot tubs. This sounds like a nice leisurely thing. This is a very real thing. Swimming pools must be fenced. If your fence has been damaged, install temporary fencing immediately. There are children out there. That's hugely important. Once the power is restored, circulate the water to prevent mosquitoes from laying their eggs in water. If your residence or pool is damaged and the pool cannot be turned, you can't get home, you can't fix it, notify Mosquito, Termite, and Rodent Control Board by calling 311, and we will show up with larvicide or release mosquito fish. We will dump a bunch of fish in your swimming pool so they can eat the mosquitoes so you don't have to. Sewage and Water Board. Sewage and Water Board, largely wastewater, keep reducing it. Drinking water is great. We're exporting our water to neighboring parishes. Our drinking water is great, but just when you take a shower, don't take too many of them. When you are flushing your toilets, do it like in the Navy. One, leave it. Number two, flush it. We're trying to really push our wastewater to get back online. The treatment plant on the East Bank now has Entergy power. They are bringing operations up slowly. They are still in emergency protocol at this moment. All turbines are online that are operating. We're looking really good for the Sewage and Water Board. Finally, the mayor covered Entergy. Again, by the end of the day, they're tracking to be 70% online. They are supporting our cooling centers. Can't thank Entergy, particularly their generator team, enough for really taking our priorities. Telecoms, I'm sorry, this is probably important. Telecoms info stays the same from last week, but Cox is now 35% online. They were reporting 0% yesterday. So Cox is trailing Entergy. As soon as Entergy comes online, Cox is running in there. Big shout out to Jonathan Rhodes for making that connection. Cox has assessed all of their service area. They found that not 50 miles was found to be damaged. That was up 30 miles from last week. And they are offering customer credits, late charge reversals, and all sorts of nice stuff. Big shout out for T-Mobile, who's given out 2,000 portable chargers at cooling centers and more than 600 phones with unlimited talk, text, and data for 30 days to our residents who most need it. Really, thank you, T-Mobile, and some of the telecom companies out there. Pet abandonment and animal safety, look out for our furry, flying, and reptilian friends. If you see a problem, please call 311 to report a neglected animal. If it's aggressive or hurt, call 911 to report that. One more thing, RTA, all bus routes are to a modified Saturday schedule beginning today. Buses are covering Canal and St. Charles streetcar lines. The streetcar is down, but we're covering with a bus from 6 to 6. All fees are waived. If you have any questions, call Rideline, 504-248-3900. Rideline, 504-248-3900. Please watch out for the men and women doing the important work of bringing the city back. Give them a big thumbs up or holler out your window. Thank you. Drive slowly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramsey. All right, thank you, Ramsey, and we'll have Dr. Jennifer Vagno, Health Department. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Normally, I would think the biology lesson would be from the Health Department, but I appreciate you, honorary NOHD member Ramsey Green. Thanks, everyone. The New Orleans Health Department continues to work to protect the health of all those remaining in and returning to our city. This work began, of course, long before the storm struck, and it's not going to stop until the need is abated. I'm pleased to say that all local hospitals are up and running on Entergy power, so thanks for that prioritization. They're continuing normal operations and dealing with expected post-storm visits and needs, but they are challenged somewhat with safe places for discharging some patients, given the lack of other infrastructure. So they do remain very full. Again, please, if you have an emergency, avail yourself of 911, use our hospitals, but if you don't, now's not the time to go to the hospital unless you absolutely need it. Pharmacies, urgent cares, and other healthcare centers are also reopening slowly, so be in touch with your provider, with your pharmacy. It's likely that they very well may be open with perhaps reduced hours. The Medical Special Needs Shelter at Morial Convention Center has been operational since Saturday and has approximately 45 patients, with hospital transfers increasing as the day goes on. We are really grateful for the tremendous partnership between federal, state, and local partners. We're continuing to ask for additional beds and resources because we don't expect the need to abate anytime soon. Our Special Needs Registry call center continues to operate to connect residents in need to the available resources as they come online. So immediately after the storm, we began our typical outreach to leadership at facilities around the city. that we knew housed many elderly, vulnerable, disabled residents to assess their immediate needs and send available resources. In the first days, what we got back from them was mainly for food, water, ice, generator services, and so we worked with city and nonprofit partners to accommodate those. As the power outages dragged on and the concern for heat-related illness, particularly to the elderly, grew, we realized that we needed direct verification of what was being reported to us. And so our team at the health department with public safety partners decided to send out some strike teams to several of the buildings that we were most concerned about. Upon arrival to these buildings, we located, sometimes with great difficulty, someone who had master keys to all the rooms and went door to door with fire, police, and EMS so we could directly lay eyes on every individual present. In some of these facilities, we found fairly stark conditions: no power, no elevators, no lights, individuals in their rooms who couldn't access normal supports or services. Tragically, in some places, our staff discovered residents who had died and had not yet been discovered. Clearly, for several of these facilities, this indicated that there were emergent threats to life and safety for the people who were remaining there. So we quickly mobilized, getting those individuals to state shelters as soon as possible. In 3 days, today's the 4th day, our teams have visited nearly 30 facilities for comprehensive evaluations, and we've done quick assessments of several more. Close to 600 residents of these buildings were safely routed through the convention center and directly, in some cases, to state shelters where they are now secure and comfortable. And Colin mentioned the Family Connect, the Connect phone number for DCFS. If you have a relative who was in one of these facilities, I can say a family friend actually had a relative in one of these facilities, didn't know where they were, called yesterday, got a call back from their loved one who was in Shreveport just a few hours later. So it does work, and I do encourage folks to use it. We continue to return for sites visits at facilities that are on our radar for not being back up with power, or that we continue to want to make sure we're checking up on. And we deploy to others that come on our radar as soon as we hear about them, as the mayor and the council members can attest. Loss of life in a disaster is a terrible tragedy, and we mourn every one from the last few days. Our team is committed to working with the administration and others to develop better policy that prioritizes the health and safety of our most vulnerable residents through their time of need and provides better safeguards for their well-being. Collectively, all of us, we can and must do much better to help them. And it is critical to the overall health and quality of life of our city that we treat our elders and our most vulnerable with the highest levels of dignity. If you'll indulge me, a New Testament quote from Matthew 25, "Whatsoever you do to the least of my brothers and sisters, that you do unto me." Thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much, Dr. Vagno. And I'm going to ask Chief Sean Ferguson, New Orleans Police Department.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me begin by stating that the New Orleans Police Department remains on 12-hour shifts with all hands on deck. All of our employees are at work and have been accounted for, so I'm very proud and happy for them in their commitment to our city. We continue to support various missions that we have identified across the city, including CATS at the Convention Center, including working with the health department and identifying those most vulnerable of our elderly population, as well as our cooling station, providing visibility throughout the city for that. We are also still implementing our anti-looting deployment, working with our partners at the Louisiana National Guard, Louisiana State Police, as well as the Criminal Sheriff's Office. And also, of course, still responding to calls for service. We continue to have made numerous looting arrests throughout the weekend, and we will continue to do so. Our curfew that has been implemented is still in effect, and I want to thank Ramsey for stating just what we're concerned with. At night, these dark communities, these communities without power, these four-way stop signs, we must treat these traffic lights as four-way stop signs. That is a concern of ours, and we will continue to assess monitor and evaluate when should this curfew be lifted. I want to apologize to anyone that we may be inconveniencing. I know RTA is some inconvenience, so they're definitely operating their operations based on the curfew, and I thank them for that. But I'm asking everyone to be patient. We are all in this together. You may have lights, but your neighbor does not have lights, and right now we have to ensure the safety of everyone as we try to transition to get through this process together. We have received some calls for service with regards to residential burglaries as well as business burglaries as people are returning home, so we will continue to address those accordingly. I'm encouraging all of our residents to please call us. If you find that you have been victimized, do not hesitate. No matter how minute, please call us so that we can address it accordingly. Just a couple other things. I would normally ask that we, thank our citizens, thank our public safety teams as they're out doing their mission, doing their duty to the city. But I want you to also thank our partners at Entergy and those essential employees of the city that are out there clearing the roadways, establishing or reestablishing power and outages, power throughout our city. They need that. And just as much as we get that thank you or that attaboy, I think they need that affirmation as well, that we appreciate everything that they are doing, especially now. So over the next few days, I will continue to monitor and evaluate what we should be doing with regards to curfew. I ask that you, again, just be a little bit patient with us. Today, we would definitely still have a curfew tonight. I will look at this tomorrow, and I will look at this on Wednesday and throughout the week, and I will inform you, the citizens of New Orleans, when we will be able to lift this curfew. And then, and in the event we have to, or in the event we lift this curfew prior to all communities receiving their power, we will put in place a deployment to address or give some visibility to deter any looting in those neighborhoods that still will be impacted without because of not having any power. So again, thank you, and we will get through this together. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Chief. And we're going to ask our representative from FEMA, Mr. Staller, Jerry Staller, please come.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. FEMA continues to work directly with survivors. We're listening to their needs and helping everyone we can, and we're trying to do this as quickly as possible. We're providing rapid financial assistance for critical life-saving needs, grant money for food, water, fuel, for transportation, and prescription drugs. We're also providing expedited rental assistance for people who had to evacuate to hotels or needed to relocate because of the life-threatening power outage that we're still experiencing. As of this morning, FEMA has provided $171 million in grants directly to survivors in Louisiana. That's an increase of $70 million since the president visited on Friday. FEMA has approved more than 158,000 households statewide, and more than 51,000 of those households are from Orleans Parish. It's very important that households get in touch with FEMA. You can do that at disasterassistance.gov. If you can't do that online, you may call 800-621-3362. And we ask that if you don't have serious needs related to Hurricane Ida, please keep that phone line open for people who do. FEMA teams are at all 8 of the New Orleans cooling stations and are at 20 other locations throughout Louisiana and numerous parishes impacted by the storm. And we would ask that you check with local officials for locations and hours of these facilities. Just a reminder about insurance, a very important topic the last several days. FEMA is not allowed to duplicate insurance payments. If for some reason your insurance company has denied your claim, we ask that you get that in writing, provide your insurance denial letter to FEMA, and then we will consider you for assistance grant money. We want to hear from you. Tell us about your needs and what you are going through. Now, I have a couple of deadlines that I think are going to be of interest. Residents currently have until September 12th to be considered for specific assistance related to urgent needs as a result of the power outages. This includes rapid financial assistance for critical needs and expedited rental assistance for those who had to evacuate to hotels. Again, the key thing for residents to do to meet this deadline is just to register for FEMA assistance at disasterassistance.gov or by calling 800-621-3362. Or if you want to talk to someone in person, again, at the cooling centers here in the city or at any other location, many other locations in impacted parishes throughout Louisiana. The second deadline to apply for other types of FEMA assistance is October 28th. FEMA is providing grant money for damage and needs not covered by insurance. This could include basic home repairs for your primary residence, temporary rental assistance, other needs such as replacing personal property or other disaster-type expenses. Money for chainsaws and generators may also be available, and FEMA will determine the eligibility for in each of these cases on a household-by-household basis. Again, that deadline to register for federal assistance is October 29th. Thank you.
It's 29 or 28,
I'm
Chair.
I stand corrected. This is the 28th, October 28th.
Okay, thank you. But for unmet needs on the front end, that's September the 12th.
That's correct.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you so much, Jerry. And before we go to questions and answers, I would just like for our council members who are present to give brief remarks as well. And I'll start with Councilmember Palmer, District 6. District C.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. I just want to thank FEMA, actually. The individuals that are helping out at the cooling centers have been very sensitive and empathetic, and it was really a pleasure to see them in action. I also want to thank the health department. You know, since this has occurred, my office has been working with and going into a lot of these senior centers and senior housing facilities across District C. And it really has been unconscionable what we have seen as we're providing supplies from food, water, and it is and ice, which has been highly in need. And I just want to let everyone know that our office is working in tandem to ensure that legislation will be passed to really hold these private and nonprofit operators accountable. This cannot continue. And some of these resources that were not provided has just led to a great deal of pain and agony amongst these folks. And I just want to thank for the sensitive response that this administration has done from EMS to the police department, the fire department. It has been tremendous to watch what has happened within the past 3 days to address this issue that was made again by these private and nonprofit operators who will be held accountable. And also, as we move forward, again, we still have people that do not have power and still need resources. We are all working very hard. And, you know, these pods are great resources. And if you have a neighbor that also needs the materials, please use these pods. And in District C, we're still operating over there at the Arthur Mundy Center, 1111 Newton, as we have been since the beginning, providing food, meals, water, ice, and tarps. And today, from 1 to 4, we're also providing more tarps. With this weather changing, I really, again, recommend everyone to go out there, and if you need so, to pick up tarps. Again, I would like to reiterate that these are for Orleans Parish residents, and I know that they're going to be stood up also at these pods, and I do highly recommend using them. So again, thank you so much. Please thank all the men and women. I know this is Labor Day. I want to echo the mayor. They have been working nonstop. From in our streets and our parks and parkway and our sanitation, police, fire, EMS, they have just done yeoman's work. And I just want to thank all the men and women out there and all the wonderful volunteers that have been staffing all of these locations as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brissett?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership and for your entire team and all the employees of city government on this Labor Day. It's been a tremendous effort to get us through this entire over a week now. People have been through a lot, and a lot of stress and a lot of heat, a lot of loss. And I echo my colleague, Councilmember Palmer's sentiment and join with her You know, it is very sad what we've seen with our seniors in these facilities. They need to be held accountable. Coming from, as I served in the legislature, you know, we thought that the laws passed after Hurricane Katrina would do the proper thing, and I'm glad to see my former colleague, Senator Kirk Talbot, that will file legislation requiring backup generators at these facilities. But we will do more if need be, and my colleague is working on legislation. But it's about dignity and respect, and our people deserve better, and we will continue to follow that through. As people return home and start to do your rebuilding, I urge folks to watch for the disaster hawks, as I call them, and contractor fraud. There's laws protecting, especially our seniors, and laws protecting through the Attorney General's office. So I ask our individuals and the public to help assist our seniors with their insurance, and especially with the FEMA claims and FEMA filing. Many people don't have iPhones. Many people don't have Androids. So assist, whether it's at the cooling center or, you know, people that have power right now. Help your loved one, help a fellow citizen fill out their FEMA forms. And so we'll get through this, and thank you all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. And I appreciate the state legislation that is going to be filed for requiring these facilities to have generators, but we're going to make sure that we go a step even further that requires them to have emergency contractors on the ground and available for hooking those generators up. We found that was an issue as well at one of the sites that did not have to be closed, but we had to step in as a city to get a contractor there to hook up a generator when, in fact, emergency contracts should have been in place. But we'll deal with this in a comprehensive and a holistic manner, again, to ensure the safety of our seniors and our elderly. And, you know, just thanking again on this Labor Day, all of the men and women of the city of New Orleans and every single department across the board, and all of our partner agencies as well. I told my team this morning, boy, I wished I was Oprah. And you get a car, and you get a raise, but we have no money, meaning the city, so we can't do that, and we're going to make sure we remain ethical, you know, in our practices. But I just say it's something that I feel, just being the mayor of the city, when you see your people going above and beyond, and just there's a true reflection of what public service is all about. So that's in my heart. It's definitely not in my pocket. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to John, and you can go to Q&A.
All right, we just finished listening to city leaders talk about the latest of the recovery and response after Hurricane Ida, talking about several different things that viewers and you at home or wherever you're watching may find interesting. So let's give a little bit of a recap. First and foremost, Mayor LaToya Cantrell mentioned the senior living facilities throughout the city and obviously the issues with that. She says that the city of New Orleans has activated a evaluation strike team, which is made up of multiple departments: safety, permits department, code enforcement, health department, fire department, police department, as well as many others. They are going around to make sure that the city prioritizes facilities, particularly those that have closed, but also for the facilities where seniors will be coming back to. She says these strike teams have been conducting and will conduct thorough inspections so that conditions can be improved upon and found to be in compliance, because Mayor LaToya Cantrell says what the city has found was completely unacceptable and accountability will be held. They also gave an update on Entergy, saying 66% of the power has been restored as of this morning, but they are hoping that 70% will be restored as of tonight. She says the city, though, is pushing Entergy at every level to try and get power up and running for the city and Orleans Parish. And speaking of which, we found out that local hospitals are up and running using Entergy power. They are continuing normal operations, but they are encouraging people to only go to the hospital portal if there is an emergency. If not, they say that you should try and use other resources first. In terms of shelters, we also found out that the city is helping transport people to other shelters all across the state, but that needs are decreasing, and so that they're going to start to pivot resources to where the needs are most important. They say they are going to continue taking residents who want to be evacuated, and if you're trying to find a family member or someone who has been evacuated, there is a phone number that you can call to help reunite with them. 225-342-2727, 225-342-2727. You can call that number between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and you can try and connect with other family members who, again, have had to evacuate and gone to shelters elsewhere across the state. In terms of infrastructure, they are encouraging people that the time is now to remove standing water because of fear of mosquitoes. That was a big talking point. Trash pickup, they are encouraging people to be patient as they continue to pick up trash all across the area, saying that it is taking longer than usual just because of the amount of trash, debris, and things like that that are having to be picked up. RTA has a modified Saturday schedule. All fees are waived, they say, so that is up and running. You can call 504-248-3900 with questions about RTA. A quick update about New Orleans police. They say a curfew remains in effect for Orleans Parish and that they are responding to calls of burglaries within businesses and homes, and that if you have an emergency, they are encouraging you to call them. Call the New Orleans Police Department. And as always, FEMA, of course, talking about encouraging people to get assistance through FEMA. You can apply for other types. Residents have until September 12th to apply for specific critical needs. Again, September 12th. For all other types of FEMA assistance, you have until October 28th. Assistance that, again, is not covered by insurance. So just a couple of updates. I got what was mentioned during today's press conference. We're going to have much more coming up at for our noon show, which starts now.
Live from WWL-TV, this is the Eyewitness News at noon.
We have entire streets where homes are just completely leveled. There's areas where there's no evidence that homes ever existed in that area. It's just completely devastating.
Well, we're still learning how much damage Ida did in Louisiana. In Lafourche Parish, some areas are completely uninhabitable. I mean, just take a look at the damage you can see there. Officials say it looks like every home there has some level of damage. Well, good afternoon again. I'm Jay Cunningham, and thank you for joining us for the Eyewitness News at noon. We're going to show you today's Ida recovery efforts in just a moment. First, much of southeast Louisiana is under a flash flood watch today, and there is an area that we are watching in the tropics. So we want to send things on over to Alexandra Cranford. Alexandra, I woke up today. I had an alert that we're in a flash flood watch. Rain is the last thing that we need right now, especially from this disturbance that you guys are monitoring.
Yeah, and we are watching it, Jade, but it does look like it has overall a pretty low chance of actually developing. Wouldn't it be nice if we moved into this week and we just had nice dry air and everything quiet? But instead, we do have a couple of things to talk about. So this is that area, and we've been talking about it for a few days now. You can see it's 91L. That's just the area of investigation, and we're still just expecting a 30% chance of development. That's a low chance, and it does look like it will be moving off to the northeast, and you can see it eventually kind of bringing that slug of moisture we've been talking about. So we will have some higher rain chances over the next couple of days. And actually what we're seeing with it, of course, is that it's going to just really bring the tropical moisture, keeping our rain around really on through Wednesday. We'll say right now roughly a couple of inches of rain, could be a little bit more though. And in fact, even just early today, we have our flash flood watch going into effect. So we are starting to see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms cropping up in the area, including one just off to the west of New Orleans. In a few minutes, I will be back with my complete forecast. We'll go into detail about what we're seeing right now, how long the flash flood watch continues. It does end at 9 p.m., but we could have a few more downpours in the next couple of days. And we'll look ahead to the weekend when it looks like we'll get a cool front to make everything a lot less humid, and very noticeably less humid, with dew points maybe even as low as sort of one of those fall cold fronts conceivably for Friday. So lots more on all this coming, but again, low chance of development right now for Invest 91L. See you in a few minutes with more.
All right, that's definitely some good news. Thanks so much, Alexandra. A man died last night after being hit by multiple vehicles on an unlit street. Now, this happened on Berman Highway in Terrytown around 8 p.m. State police say 52-year-old Keat Doe was walking in an eastbound lane near Park Place Drive when an unknown vehicle hit him and kept driving. That's according to authorities. Now, while he was lying in the road, he was hit by several others. Louisiana State Police says the street was very, very dark. There was no power on that street, obviously because of Hurricane Ida, so there were no street lights on. If you know anything about this, call Crime Stoppers, and remember, you can stay anonymous. People are starting to come back to Lafourche Parish, but officials warn anyone returning has to bring everything they need to survive. Power's still out, gas is hard to come by, and there is a boil advisory for the entire parish, except Thibodaux. We talked to the Lafourche Sheriff's Office. They told us the extent of the damage.
We have entire streets where homes are just completely leveled. There's areas where there's no evidence that homes ever existed in that area. It's just completely devastating. Some buildings were completely gutted in the central portion of our parish. Really, I think it's safe to say that 100% of homes in Lafourche Parish sustained some level of damage. Some was very minor, going all the way to, again, just complete devastation of a residence.
So many people need help right now. We also heard from Jefferson Parish leaders over the weekend. They say officials will go to Grand Isle today to prepare for crews to come in tomorrow and Wednesday. Now, that includes Entergy workers who will start fixing utility poles. Fire Department Director Brian Adams says recovery for Grand Isle begins this week.
This will be a long, drawn-out process. We will send daily reports back to the parish president of street by street and block by block as we make our way through the island, clearing the roads and beginning the process of getting families back into their places if they can.
Elsewhere in Lower Jefferson, Lafitte again has a tough recovery ahead. Many roads again still flooded, and there is mud everywhere. Look at that. It is included inside homes. In Barataria, many are cut off and in need of supplies. A barge hit the swing bridge and knocked it off its axis, making it completely impassable. The National Guard is now ferrying equipment and supplies there. Finding gas has been one of the big challenges in the aftermath of Ida. With people running generators, they're trying to get out of town. Fuel is in short supply for most of southeastern Louisiana. Molly Oak is live in Golden Meadow, where one group is trying to get gas to people who need it. Again, so many people need gas right now. What exactly are you seeing right now?
Yeah, to say the least, I'm at Go Pass Center, where people have been lined up for hours, and this is why. 20 free gallons of gas for each vehicle. They can put it in your vehicle or in one of the cans, but it's not easy to get there because it wraps around this building. Over here, excuse the generator, it gets a little loud, all the way around, completely down that row. Dozens and dozens and dozens of cars have been lined up waiting for hours for that free gas. This is the second day of giving away gas for people in this area. I talked with one woman who says she got in line at 5:30 this morning for the 8 a.m. start time. After 4 hours of waiting, she was still about a dozen cars back from getting gas. We talked with a board member from the Bayou Community Foundation, which organized this giveaway. He says 8,500 gallons of gas are in this truck next to me. Each person gets 20 gallons to either fill up their car or cans. Now, 20 gallons may not seem like much, but the people waiting in this line say it means everything to them.
That's probably 3 days worth of generator to save our food.
It's a lot for us right now so we can have some air because it's hot.
Actually, I've been getting gas, and I've been transporting it to people that need it that can't get out and get it. You know, I got a bunch of elderly people that have oxygen machines and they need gas. That's where this gas is going to.
Okay, the next view. Now, this free gas giveaway doesn't stop here. The Bayou Community Foundation will give away gas tomorrow and Wednesday. So a heads up if you're in Houma or Montague areas. The free gas will be at Grand Caillou Middle School in Houma tomorrow and at Montague Middle School on Wednesday. Both of those start at 9 a.m. I talked to you about that one woman we spoke to who had been in line for hours. Just before this live hit, she made it through the line and was just cheering, yelling, "I got the gas, I got the gas." Between that excitement and the line of cars that we showed you earlier, I mean, it is just clear how much this is really needed in this community. Power is still out. Power lines are down on every street. Just looking around, I see what was left of a car wash, tarps on houses. They're desperate in this community, and gas is really, really needed. So this is a huge blessing for them.
All All right, Molly Oak, thank you so much for your report this afternoon. There will be plenty of other giveaways today across the region, including ones for water, ice, and MREs. You can go to our website, wwltv.com, where you'll find a list of distribution sites in your parish. We'll also have help applying for FEMA assistance and other federal and state disaster help there as well. Since Ida hit, the State Department of Health says 12 people in nursing homes and senior living facilities have died. 5 of the victims were found over the weekend when the LDH workers were doing wellness checks. Asha Staples explains.
St. John Birchman's Manor is one of 10 facilities the city of New Orleans ordered to close this past weekend. And as of yesterday, there's still about 90 residents that are living in their apartments. Now, health officials were making wellness checks, but found some senior apartments without air conditioning or adequate medical attention for residents. And this all unfolding days after more than 800 nursing home residents who evacuated to a warehouse in Independence had to relocate. The warehouse was described as overcrowded, hot, and unsanitary. 7 residents died in connection to that incident. As for those in this facility, residents tell me it's their home and they don't want to leave in fear of further mistreatment and pleading for help.
I'm an oxygen patient, for one. It makes me feel like it's no one but us. They just start sending water and Gatorade, but we had none of that since the storm.
And this is a list of those nursing homes and senior living facilities that we do know were ordered to close down. The Louisiana Department of Children and Family Services is launching Connect, a way for families to relocate loved ones who evacuated from Hurricane Ida to a state shelter. Alternatively, families can fill out a form online to reach out to loved ones who may be in state shelters. Of course, we do have all that information for you on our website, wwltv.com. And of course, we'll continue to follow these stories for the next few days and bring you the latest as we do get it. Reporting in New Orleans, Asha Staples, Eyewitness News.
We also have a better idea of what conditions were like inside that warehouse in Independence. 800 residents were taken to that building before the storm. The Louisiana Department of Health says the warehouse had been evaluated before Ida hit. Officials determined the facility did have, quote, the minimum necessary components to provide a safe, sheltering environment for a very short period of time, adding conditions clearly deteriorated following the storm. The LDH also revealed residents were found in varying stages of undress and did not have adequate medical care. There were piles of linens and trash on the floor, and an overwhelming stench of urine and feces was present in the building. Hospitals that received the patients told the state it was clear they had been neglected. In other news, a beloved New Orleans musician has died. Benny Pete was the founding tuba player of the Hot 8 Brass Band. Created in 1996, it's one of the city's most well-known groups, famous for funk-style brass music. Several sources, including the Save Our Brass Culture Foundation, report Pete passed away. We are still working to get more details and information. A week after Hurricane Ida's landfall, more than half of New Orleans has power back. How long it'll be before the whole city has lights back on, and how much longer for harder hit areas. And the Coast Guard is tracking multiple oil spills in the Gulf, where they are, and the plan to get them cleaned up. Thanks for staying with us. More than half of Entergy customers who lost power during the storm have it back now. More than 900,000 were in the dark after the storm. Power is restored for 51% of them now. Entergy says the lights are back on for about 70% of homes and businesses in New Orleans. That's expected to climb to 90% by Wednesday. Now, for some of the hardest hit areas, Entergy expects to have power fully restored by the end of the month. That includes Lafourche, St. Charles, and Lower Jefferson parishes. It's now 12:47. Let's get a check of our weather with Alexandra, because a lot to talk about today.
There is, I know. We have two things going. So first of all, a lot of heat, and then also we have a flash flood watch. So both things in late summer, a lot of heat plus the chance for some flooding rains. We have this flash flood watch until 9 p.m. for a quick 2 to 3 inches of rain. Plus, we have our heat advisory where it's not raining. It will feel like about 100, and we are seeing that in a lot of spots. Here are air temperatures right now in the upper 80s, and our feels like temperatures when you factor in our dew points and our relative humidity, it's feeling more like, you can see, close to 100 in a few spots. And we are starting to see some scattered rain forming up. So here we are looking at some right around the Belle Chase area, outside of Belle Chase toward Poydras. A big storm here south of Des Allemands and around Luling as well. So these are the kind of storms that are going to set up for a little bit. Again, maybe dump a quick 2 to 3 inches of rain. That could promote a little bit of street flooding. And of course, we don't need that with damage to homes and roofs and things like that. But unfortunately, today we do have that chance for continued rain. This is what we're seeing around the Chauvin area, south of Chauvin, and we have a bit also around Hancock County along the coast for Bay St. Louis. And part of why we're seeing this is because, first of all, it's actually still, September. It's still officially summer. We still have a lot of heat, and that's going to help some of these storms form up and strengthen as we get into the afternoon. And then we also have this stationary front just sort of providing a focus for showers and storms to form. And this will just be sort of washing out near us over the next day or two. So today, high temperatures around 90 and a pretty decent chance for continued rain. Later on tonight, we'll drop the rain chance to near 20 to 30%, and our temperatures will be getting into the 70s. Let me show you with our model. It's doing a decent job of showing the rain south of the lake at 1 p.m. You can see a little more scattered rain, likely tapering off for the evening, though. And then this is tonight, slight chance for a couple of showers. And tomorrow, this model showing the front, of course, weakening, but our rain chance is a little higher than it's depicting for tomorrow afternoon. I think we may have a little bit more scattered downpour kind of activity. And then Wednesday, too, we will eventually be watching for another front to move in for the end of the week. And that will dry us out starting on Thursday, but especially into Friday and the weekend. And that one is that one with the lower humidity. I'll show you in a second. Flash flood outlook for today, though, most of our area at that slight risk of seeing a few downpours that could, again, bring some minor flooding issues, it looks like. So this would be for today. And then just looking ahead to tomorrow, there's still a lower chance, but it's still there for a bit of flooding rain. How much rain? Well, the blues and purples are up to 1 to 2 inches. 3 inches is farther south of our coast, and we've been talking about that increase in moisture partially due eventually to Invest 91. So it's still a very kind of broad low pressure area. In fact, there's low pressure lower in the atmosphere, and then there's also an upper low, so it's not really getting its act together and organizing just yet, but we're expecting it to be drawn to the north. We'll have a trough of low pressure off to the north of us, and it will likely just take this general movement, likely still as just a messy system, although officially there is a low end chance for development into a depression, maybe a tropical storm, but models have really backed off even from that solution. And you can see it looks like the deepest moisture may actually stay just off to the east of us. This takes us into Thursday, and we're already starting to dry out. And then here's that front for Friday and the weekend. And look how low our dew points may go. Dew point is our measure, one way to talk about the feels like, or the mugginess that we feel at the surface. Still humid, plenty of moisture in the atmosphere the next couple of days, partially why we have that chance for rain. Then by Thursday, we'll start to see it dropping a little bit as the front arrives. And look at this, Friday, it could be quite dry before our feels like temperatures probably rebound a little bit, or the humidity rebounds. But on our dew point scale, dew points in the 50s, that is very pleasant, very noticeably pleasant, and more drastic than what we saw this past weekend, even though we had a little bit of a break in humidity over the past couple of days. But it's back now. Be prepared for those scattered downpours the next couple of days. And then again, we'll be looking forward to that drier setup for the weekend.
Definitely looking forward to that drier setup. Thanks so much, Alexandra. Divers in the Gulf of Mexico have been able to identify the location of a pipe leak that is spilling oil into the Gulf. The Coast Guard says the pipe on the ocean floor broke open during Hurricane Ida. A Houston-based company called Talos Energy is paying for the cleanup, but they say the pipe is not theirs. Aerial photos from the Associated Press show the miles-long slick about 2 miles south of Port Fourchon, Louisiana. Dealing with your insurance company after a storm can for sure be a headache sometimes. After the break, we're going to explain how you can make the process easier. Thanks for staying with us. As people begin to repair the damage left behind by Hurricane Ida, there are some questions about how to get help from your insurance company. Drew Carter breaks down what you should do right now.
Well, State Insurance Commissioner Jim Donelon wants to make sure that people are not bogged down with the process. You can see behind me just how massive that tree is that hit the home. They want to make sure that it's easier for people to recover, especially the folks behind me, as soon as possible. And so State Insurance Commissioner Jim Donelon is asking insurers to be fair with the claims process. He and President Biden have noticed insurance companies are not paying claims because there was no mandatory evacuation. Donelon said in a news conference he is urging insurers to pay claims with a voluntary or no evacuation order. He said the issue of mandatory evacuation is not about insurance. Instead, it should be about people's safety. Donelon said that some companies have already started to waive the mandatory evacuation provision.
People had to get out of harm's way in a very short period of time. And this circumstance certainly dictated that kind of action by our local leaders. I concur, and on Friday I issued a bulletin urging the insurers to do as the President suggested and as I'm requesting, and not impose that requirement of a mandatory evacuation order. So far I've heard about 3 companies.
Now, the insurance commissioner is asking people to file their claim as soon as possible, because the sooner you file, the better you're going to get the adjuster on scene, and you'll get a reputable contractor and not fall victim to a scam. Now, if there are any questions about this, you're asked to call the state office at 1-800-259-5300. For now, the reporting, Duke Carter, Eyewitness News.
All right, good tips there, and that's our new newscast for today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you back here tonight.